Hey folks, how you doing? Dave McRae here. So I just wanted to take a moment and do this video and talk about the SAG-AFTRA strike and give my thoughts on it, as well as how it does or doesn't affect the production of It's Me, Billy Chapter 2 for all of our backers and viewers out there. Now, I did make a social media post about this yesterday morning, and I did talk about this on my live stream yesterday, and I think Bruce also gave an update on the Indiegogo campaign for It's Me, Billy Chapter 2 today. But as is often the case, when I feel very passionate about something, or I feel something's very important when I'm talking about, a certain topic on a live stream that's full of all sorts of topics and questions, I will often, when I'm done, dedicate a specific video to it. And that's what I'm doing here. So let's dive into it. So SAG-AFTRA. SAG-AFTRA is on strike. SAG, of course, stands for the Screen Actors Guild. AFTRA is the American Federation of Radio and Television Artists. For many years, they were two separate unions, but since about 2012, I believe it was, they have been one union. And I've received some DMs from people asking if it is affecting me here in Canada. It is not. The union here in Canada is AFTRA, which of course is the Alliance of Canadian Cinema, Television, and Radio Artists, ACTRA. It's the Canadian equivalent of SAG-AFTRA, but we are not on strike up here, thank goodness. But nonetheless, we do stand in solidarity with our brothers and sisters south of the border with SAG-AFTRA, and it's incredibly important what's happening here. The situation is this is a historic strike. There's no doubt about it. Now, before I give you my thoughts on the strike itself, let me just give you my thoughts as it relates to It's Me, Billy Chapter 2. So, does the SAG-AFTRA strike affect It's Me, Billy Chapter 2? The short answer, like I mentioned yesterday on social media, is yes. Yes, we are a union production. We have SAG members on board, of course. So the short answer is yes, it does. However, because we are a indie shoot and we are not for profit and we are not associated with any of the studios, and we are not associated with any major distribution from any of the studios, SAG has implemented there is a situation that independent filmmakers can potentially take advantage of, certain waivers that SAG will present for us indie filmmakers that are shooting with SAG members, that will allow us to continue to shoot or to even start shooting if the strike is still going, which is a huge relief. And it looks like it's something that we will be able to take advantage of if the strike were to last, for months and months. We are not planning to go to camera. The earliest we would start shooting Chapter 2 would be the end of November, so a very similar schedule as to Chapter 1 back in 2020. So we still have about 4 months before we would start principal photography. However, I've been hearing sort of from people that I know in the industry that are connected that this strike may last until the end of the year, if not into 2024. Now, it's entirely possible that we could have a deal in place, a couple of weeks from now. Who knows what could happen between now and, whenever. But it wouldn't be unprecedented. These types of strikes have lasted months before. I mean, the WGA is on strike as we speak. They've been on strike since the beginning of May, I believe. So this is pretty crazy. But like I said, for all of our backers out there, for all of our viewers that are curious, yes, the short answer is yes, of course it does affect us, but being an independent not-for-profit shoot with no distribution from any of the major studios, we have options. We have options that we would not have if we were backed by one of the major studios. So in other words, we are not who SAG-AFTRA is fighting against, and that's a very good thing. But that doesn't mean we can just willy-nilly and do anything we want. We still have to follow the rules and regulations, and that's what we are currently looking into as we speak. So in a perfect world, the strike will be over before we go to camera, and this is a moot thing anyway, and it doesn't even matter. However, we need to be prepared that the strike is going to last until, the end of the year, if not into 2024. And we are currently looking into those things right now. But what we are continuing to do as well as do that is we are continuing on with pre-production. So that has not stopped. We are neck deep into pre-production right now. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, and we are full steam ahead on pre-production so that when the strike is done, we are ready to go, or we are still ready to go and take advantage of those options that we may have. So that is what's happening. All the money raised from the Indiegogo campaign is in our business account. It is there. It is ready to go. It's ready to rock. There's nothing, it's safe. It's perfectly safe. And the Indiegogo campaign is still active. We are in demand now, so you can still take advantage of it and pick up perks and Blu-rays as well. So hit the link in the description and make sure you check that out if you haven't already. So now on to my thoughts on the SAG-AFTRA strike in general. Obviously, as a professional voice actor who's worked in the industry for 22 years, I can say that I absolutely support what's going on. No shock, I'm sure. But it is something that is incredibly important. This is a historic strike. Obviously I'm not in the war room and privy to the nitty-gritty details that SAG-AFTRA is dealing with. There's two sides to every story. I'm sure there might be some things that maybe SAG is being a little stubborn on too. Who knows? That's why you negotiate back and forth. But some of the things I'm hearing that the studios want to do, especially when it comes to, AI and things like that, and like how they want to be able to scan a background performer, pay them for the day, but scan their image and their likeness and put that into, some sort of digital vault and be able to use their likeness and them indefinitely in perpetuity for the rest of time without having to pay them a single fucking thing. That's not cool. That's not how this shit works. That's not how it should work. That's frightening. And this is just the tip of the iceberg of this kind of shit. That's just one of the many things that SAG-AFTRA is fighting against. It's also important to remember that, I do see a lot of people online saying, these rich actors, what the hell do they care? Folks, you have to remember that this is the entire union. And only about 1% to 2% of SAG-AFTRA members are actually making a living as a working actor. You know what I mean? So when you think of SAG and you think of AFTRA, I understand that because of the way Hollywood works, we tend to have this image of, the glitz, the glam, the movie stars, the Jennifer Anistons, the Brad Pitts, the Harrison Fords, the Tom Cruises, and all that kind of stuff. That's only 1% of SAG, right? The vast majority of SAG-AFTRA actors have to have other jobs as well, or are only making, $40,000 a year or $50,000 a year. They're not movie stars, right? Okay, so it's all of them as well. It's everybody. It's all 150,000 members are on strike. It's the movie stars, yes, but it's Billy Bob John, who's just the the bit part actor in the movies. It's the background people. It's little some guy that it's him, and it's everybody. It's everybody who's a SAG member in regards to theatrical television narrative pieces, I believe. It's not every single member in terms of every actor, but as it relates to theatrical, television, scripted narrative, things like that. They're not all movie stars. They're the best friends. They're the supportive roles. They're just the regular, people at the end of the day. But it's very important to have the movie stars on board because the studios don't care about Billy Bob and the regular actors who are only making $50,000 a year. They don't care about them because those are not the actors that bring in the money. Those are not the actors that are, front and center on the marquee. They don't care about them. And so that's why it's so important to have the movie stars, for which are the people that are on the marquee, are the actors that bring in the money. It's important to have them front and center speaking for the little guys, right? Speaking for everybody that's affected, not just movie stars, but everybody that's affected. And that's what they're doing. Yes, Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise could probably afford SAG-AFTRA being on strike for 6 years, and it wouldn't make a dent in their, you know, in their net worth. But you know, but that's only like 1 to 2%, right? The other 98 to 99% of actors, they're struggling. You know, they're struggling, and that's what this is about. And there's certain things that everybody is worried about, even the movie stars, right? You know, they want to talk about residuals as it relates to streaming and all this kind of stuff. It's a whole thing. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. The movie stars have their own issues and their own concerns, maybe not the same type of urgency that, say, a struggling actor who's, you know, waiting tables, who's a SAG member as well, but is only making $25,000 a year from, you know, bit parts or whatever. Maybe they don't have the same concerns or level of urgency that kind of an actor has. It's relative, of course, but they would have their own concerns as it relates to residuals and AI and all that kind of stuff. So it bleeds down. Everybody's in it together. It does affect everybody, and you need those movie stars in order to have impact. Because if the you see, if it was just the, you know, the SAG actors that are making 30 grand a year and waiting tables, the studios wouldn't give a fuck. They wouldn't care. But when the movie stars go on strike, oh shit, oh shit. You know what I'm saying? And that's why it's so important. So just remember that it's everybody as it relates to theatrical, television, narrative, scripted work and things like that. There's obviously some things it does not pertain to, but certainly as it relates to that, the streaming and the movies and, you know, all that kind of stuff, it definitely relates to. And so the industry has come to a halt. And everything that I'm hearing, I've been talking with some fellow actors over the last day, and it's scary, man. It is. I mean, I'm certainly seeing it in the voiceover world for sure, as it relates to AI and artificial intelligence, and there's a lot of scary stuff that's coming down the pipe, and this is our livelihood. This is what we do, and so I do support 100%. Because if you don't nip it in the ass now, and if you don't get rules and regulations in place now, and it can be very easy. It can be very easy to turn the other way and just keep, you know, the status quo and keep going. It can be easy because these things are hard. Fighting, striking, negotiating, stipulations, contracts, you know, it's tough. You know, it's tough. It's tedious, and you're up all hours and you can't sleep and all. It's very tough. But if we don't do it now, then fuck. Then it's going to be too late. It's going to be too late. So, you know, just that little, and again, that's just the tip of the iceberg, that the studios wanted to scan background actors, pay them for the day. They're paid for the day, but scan their likeness, scan their image. There's nothing they can do about it. And they can use it in perpetuity for the rest of their lives without that person ever getting another cent ever. That's just the tip of the iceberg, you know, and that's just one issue that is on the table. And so residuals and streaming being probably the other gigantic one, which again, I mean, yeah, I totally support, you know, I mean, because with streaming, there's no commercials, right? So how does an actor get residuals? Right? It's a big thing that we've got to figure this out. We've got to figure this out. We've got to nip it in the ass now. It's incredibly important. So I do support what's going on, obviously. And I just hope it doesn't last, you know, for months. You know, I hope it doesn't. But it is incredibly important. And it does shut down the industry. You know, when the WGA went on strike, obviously it is a big issue. The writers are on strike. I support them as well. Obviously it's a big issue. But it's not as big of an issue if SAG goes on strike. And that's because, yes, when the writers go on strike, that's a big issue, but there's so much backlog of completed scripts, completed episodes, completed material that the studios and the streaming services can probably run wild for a while until they're really feeling the pinch in terms of, the writers. But when the actors go on strike, everything shuts down. So, for example, I mean, depending on how long it goes, the Stranger Things kids could be, I don't know, 36 before season 5 gets going. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, hey, you think they're old now. Everything shuts down, folks. Everything. And so it's short-term pain for hopefully long-term gain. And it's crazy. Now, also too, in terms of conventions, obviously, I watched Sean Clark's video this morning about this, because obviously, people were like, because it does say in the SAG-AFTRA stipulations in terms of the rules and regulations around the strike, can actors attend conventions? And apparently they can, as long as they are not there to promote any new work or past work, I believe within the last 11 years, dating back to when SAG-AFTRA merged together. I believe that is the case. I don't think it's indefinitely back to the beginning of time, but certainly the last 11 years. They cannot attend a convention, possibly do any panels talking about new work, talking about they can't do that. But I believe they can go to conventions and sign autographs and things like that. So the Halloween 45 convention and all the other horror conventions, I believe are okay. Now you might notice a bit of a difference in terms of, there's no panels. There's no panels. And if you were to go up to a celebrity at a table and ask them about a movie that they're in, they would just probably say, I can't talk about it. Sorry. Now you also might have some celebrities who are bowing out anyway, as Sean Clark pointed out on his video, and rightly so, because they are just fearful of, they just don't want to get caught up in any sort of like somebody's got their phone out and they're trying to get, you know what I mean? They just don't want to have anything to do with it anyway. You might find some people do that, but hopefully at the end of the day, when it comes to Halloween 45 and the other conventions, that it will go off without a hitch, or at least with as minimal hitches as possible. But it's a big deal right now. It's historic, and we're obviously paying attention to it and watching it very carefully for obvious reasons. I have, 2 reasons to be watching, and but we are continuing to move forward with pre-production with It's Me, Billy Chapter 2, and we will keep you updated and posted as the weeks and months roll on. Nothing has been canceled. Nothing has been postponed yet. We have options, and we are going to utilize every option we have at our disposal when the need and time comes. So that's all I have to say about that, folks. Jump into the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. If you have any questions or comments or whatever, shoot them down there, and I will do my best to answer them when I can. I really appreciate you tuning in. Really appreciate your love and support. As always, my name's Dave McRae. If you want to follow me on social media, you can. There are my links right there. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. All my links are in the description. Check them out until your heart's content. And when your heart is content, check them out again. That'll do it for me. In the meantime and in between time, I will talk to you soon. Cheers.